Hey, it is what it is. I don't have to worry about whether I hurt anybody's feelings ever. I'm not trying to be a journalist, nor do I want to be. I don't have any respect for journalists. Not anymore. All right? Not anymore. But nonetheless, she got a great channel. And, I enjoy that channel a lot. So, and by the way, that wasn't a shot at her. At her guest, yeah. I'm not the biggest fan in the world. Okay? But hey, no doubt, Annie keeps her,
Hey, it is what it is. I do not have to worry about whether I hurt anybody's feelings ever. I am not trying to be a journalist, nor do I want to be. I do not have any respect for journalists. Not anymore, all right? Not anymore. But nonetheless, she got a great channel, and, I enjoy that channel a lot. So, and by the way, that was not a shot at her or at her guest. Yeah, I am not the biggest fan in the world, okay? But hey, no doubt, Annie keeps her, the clock is ticking. Now, number one, I do not care what anybody says. A women's professional basketball league, regardless of the time of the year, it is a conflict of interest because it is a competitor, right? Wrong or indifferent, it is a competitor. So it would literally be like McDonald's and Burger King going into business. We got somebody working at both places.
Thanks. Now, number one, I don't care what anybody says. A women's professional basketball league, regardless of the time of the year, it is a conflict of interest because it's a competitor. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a competitor. So it would literally be like McDonald's and Burger King going into business. We got somebody working at both places. They're both in leadership. No, that doesn't work like that, and you're not allowed to do it. The other thing is, when you have people that own a competitor's league being in prominent leadership positions.
They are both in leadership. No, that does not work like that, and you are not allowed to do it. The other thing is when you have people that own a competitor's league being in prominent leadership positions, that is a massive conflict of interest. The CBA for another league, that is another massive conflict of interest because those people, Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart, they stand in theory to benefit if the WNBA cannot have a season. So that is a problem. And the other one, now that they're going to start making more money, well, it is going to become an issue for the WNBA because they are going to be like, well, if we're paying $500,000 all the way up in theory to $2.4 million, and we do not know what this new proposal is going to be, and word has it, the teams are going to be like, yeah, we do not want you to play in other leagues because if you get hurt, okay, our asset can be damaged. By the way, Brianna Jones' torn meniscus playing in another league supposedly will be good by the time the season starts, but perfect example. Perfect example.
The CBA for another league, that's another massive conflict of interest because those people, Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart, they stand in theory to benefit if the WNBA can't have a season. So that's a problem. And the other one, now that they're going to start making more money, well, it's going to become an issue for the WNBA because they're going to be like, well, if we're paying $500,000 all the way up in theory to $2.4 million, and we don't know what this new proposal is going to be, and word has it.
So Christina Lodge, or Costa Ball, posted this earlier. WNBA President Nika Anuma, players themselves are voicing profound concern. Now, this is what is going to get everybody's attention. During this interview, the following was said from Annie about the idea that the season could very well get delayed here. Free agency is going to be a big part of the reason. I have been kind of ringing the alarm, like it is kind of time to panic. There is a lot of stuff to do, and also there is an entire free agency to deal with. There is like 100 players that are free agents. Have you heard anything? Have you heard of teams starting to talk to players? I know that they technically cannot make offers and such, but what have you heard on the free agency front? In a blunt assessment, one commentator declared that if players are truly concerned about the free agency logjam, then they should simply sign the current collective bargaining agreement. The deal on the table is described as really fair, suggesting that the players' union is holding out on terms that are already advantageous.
Yeah. We don't want you to play in other leagues, because if you get hurt, okay, our asset can be damaged. By the way, Brianna Jones, torn meniscus, playing in another league. Supposedly will be good by the time the season starts, but perfect example. Perfect example. So Costaball posted this earlier. WNBPA president Nika Agumake.
Okay, I am going to stop it right there. My response to that would be, well, you better sign the CBA then, should not you? I mean, I don't know what else to say. You've got what I think is a really fair deal on the table. If you're that concerned about free agency and how you're going to have to get through that, probably a good idea to put some pen to paper and get that deal done. Because at this point, the owners have a deal out there. So I don't know. I'm going to tell you, if they don't, it's a nightmare for the season to get delayed one game, honestly. To lose preseason games, if they don't get that, that's a horrible look. And that fans are already checking out, especially after Caitlin Clark's injury last year. They don't need to do anything that's going to delay this season one solitary second of one game. That's a horrible idea for a league that is finally looking like it's turning the corner financially.
Now, this is what's going to get everybody's attention. During this interview, the following was said from Annie about the idea that the season could very well get delayed here. Free agency is going to be a big part of the reason.
I've been kind of ringing the alarm. It's kind of time to panic. There's a lot of stuff to do. And also there's an entire free agency to deal with. There's 100 players that are free agents. Have you heard anything? Have you heard of teams starting to talk to players? I know that they technically can't make offers and such, but what have you heard on the free agency front?
At the heart of this crisis lies a harsh financial reality. The WNBA has never turned a profit. Despite recent surges in popularity and viewership, the league remains in a precarious financial position. Owners who invest significantly need to see a return on their investment for the league to be sustainable. The CBA negotiation is not just about player salaries, it is about securing the financial future and very existence of the WNBA. This period represents a crucial turning point where financial stability finally seems within reach. However, this hinges entirely on the new CBA allowing the league to generate significant revenue. If the players' demands or the ongoing stalemate prevent the owners from seeing a clear path to profitability, the future of the league remains deeply uncertain.
February, the season will be delayed because, to your point, Stewie has said this, there's so much that has to get done. And so what's going to happen is free agency in the WNBA is unique. It's always been a sprint. Historically, it hasn't been this big moment in the same way it is in the NBA. There hasn't been a ton of movement. There's a lot of reasons for that. We don't have to get into that today. But when Candace signed with the Sky, that was one of the biggest free agency moves at the time in the history of the WNBA, and that was just 2021. And so what we've seen in the years since...
One of the core conflicts at the center of the CBA negotiations involves WNBA players competing in other international leagues during the WNBA offseason. While the WNBA once encouraged this practice, citing low salaries as the justification, the landscape has drastically changed. What was once a supplementary income source has now evolved into a significant point of contention. The original rationale for playing abroad, when WNBA salaries hovered around $75,000 to $100,000, no longer applies. with a new proposal that could see player earnings skyrocket from $500,000 up to an astounding $2.4 million. The league's perspective has completely transformed. This dramatic increase in potential earnings makes playing in foreign leagues a far more complex issue, challenging the long-standing tradition that players have relied on for decades.
That would be, well, you better sign the CBA then, shouldn't you? I mean, I don't know what else to say. You've got a really, what I think is a really fair deal on the table. If you're that concerned about free agency and how you're going to have to get through that, probably a good idea to put some pen to paper and get that deal done. Because at this point, the owners have a deal out there. So I'm going to tell you, if they do not...
I adamantly argue that any professional women's basketball league, regardless of its timing, is a direct competitor to the WNBA. I draw a powerful analogy. It is like McDonald's and Burger King trying to go into business together with employees working in leadership positions at both. Such a scenario is fundamentally unworkable and unacceptable in any other industry, exposing a glaring conflict that the WNBA can no longer ignore. A more troubling conflict of interest emerges from the revelation that some individuals who own competitor leagues also hold prominent leadership positions within the WNBA. These same individuals are actively involved in negotiating the very CBA that will shape the WNBA's future. This direct overlap of interest creates an ethical minefield, raising serious questions about the impartiality and fairness of the ongoing discussions. The most shocking implication of this ownership conflict is that these individuals, by virtue of their investments in rival leagues, theoretically stand to benefit if the WNBA season cannot proceed.
Nightmare for the season to get delayed. One game. Honestly, to lose preseason games. If they don't get that that's a horrible look, and that fans are already like checking out, especially after Caitlin Clark's injury last year. They don't need to do anything that is going to delay this season one solitary second of one game. It's a horrible idea for a league that is finally looking like it's turning the corner financially.
If the WNBA falters, the value and prominence of their other basketball ventures could increase, creating a powerful, unsettling incentive for the current stalemate. This suggests a potential sabotage from within, undermining the league's integrity. Specific names are being implicated in this ownership controversy. Figures like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, both members of the Players Union Executive Committee, are mentioned in the context of standing to benefit from a WNBA season failure. This accusation, if true, would represent a profound breach of trust and a severe conflict of interest that could jeopardize the entire negotiation process. With proposed salaries soaring, WNBA teams are increasingly unwilling to risk their multi-million-dollar investments on players competing overseas. The argument is clear. If the league is paying a player a significant amount, that player becomes a valuable asset that needs protection. An injury sustained in an outside league directly damages the team's investment, making overseas play an unacceptable liability for owners. The concerns about player injury are not hypothetical, they are tragically real. Breanna Jones, for instance, suffered a torn meniscus while playing in another league, serving as a perfect example of the risks involved. Although she is reportedly expected to recover by the start of the WNBA season, her injury highlights the tangible dangers that threaten player health and the financial stability of WNBA teams. Amidst the escalating tension, there is a glimmer of potential movement. Word has it that the WNBA is preparing to submit a new proposal to the Players Union very soon. Whether this will be a genuinely fresh offer or simply a rehashed version of previous terms remains unknown. However, any new proposal signifies an attempt to break the current deadlock, offering a sliver of hope in an otherwise bleak negotiation landscape. Despite the anticipation of a new league proposal, the Players' Union remains in a waiting game. They are still awaiting a formal response from the WNBA to their own December proposal, indicating a continued communication gap and a lack of decisive action. This ongoing back and forth, with each side waiting on the other, contributes significantly to the looming threat of a season delay and exacerbates the overall uncertainty. The WNBA stands at a critical juncture, facing a perfect storm of CBA chaos, deep-seated conflicts of interest, and an existential financial struggle. The stakes could not be higher, impacting not just the league's bottom line, but the careers of every player and the loyalty of a growing fan base. This period will define whether the WNBA truly capitalizes on its moment or succumbs to the pressures, leaving its future and its stars in jeopardy. The potential for even a single game delay, let alone the loss of preseason games, is described as an unmitigated public relations disaster. For a league striving to gain mainstream traction, such a setback would be a devastating blow to fan engagement and public perception. It risks alienating a growing fan base and undermining years of effort to build momentum, creating a negative narrative that could take years to overcome. Adding to the urgency, fans are already showing signs of checking out, particularly after high-profile setbacks. The transcript explicitly references Caitlin Clark's injury last year as a prime example of how quickly fan interest can wane when star power is sidelined. A season delay now, compounding previous disappointments, would be an unforgivable misstep, risking permanent damage to the league's fragile connection with its audience. The ongoing CBA deadlock has utterly frozen the WNBA's vital free agency period, which is typically a rapid-fire sprint. Unlike the NBA's drawn-out process, WNBA free agency has historically concluded in a matter of weeks, with players quickly securing their spots. But this year, a staggering number of free agents, reportedly over 100, are left in limbo, unable to make career-defining decisions. The usual mid-January to early February frenzy has evaporated, replaced by an unsettling silence. Players themselves are voicing profound concern over the unprecedented chaos impacting their careers. Stars like Kahleah Copper have openly questioned how are free agents supposed to visit teams, negotiate contracts, or plan their futures when the foundational agreement remains unsettled. This directly affects their livelihoods and ability to secure the best opportunities, turning what should be an exciting period of movement into a nightmare of uncertainty.
Experts confirm the terrifying truth: if a new collective bargaining agreement is not finalized by early February, a season delay is now considered inevitable. This is not mere speculation, it is a stark reality acknowledged by multiple league sources, painting a grim picture for fans eagerly awaiting tip-off. The intricate web of logistics, player contracts, and team preparations simply cannot proceed without a settled agreement, pushing the WNBA further into uncharted and dangerous waters. The fallout could be catastrophic, impacting hundreds of careers and erasing crucial momentum for a league on the cusp of a breakthrough. This is not just about negotiations, it is about the very future of women's professional basketball, hanging by a thread amid a spiraling crisis. Panic has officially set in among league executives as a critical deadline approaches, threatening to derail everything fans and players have worked for.